Dear students, today under the subject of business environment, topic we are going to learn is industrial sickness. In this session today, we will learn the significance of industrial sickness, the definition and the concept of industrial sickness, the factor which cause industrial sickness, and the signal for a creditor to get if an industry is going to fall sick, and the health of industry. Then we will learn about the magnitude of industrial sickness in our country. We will learn about the process of rehabilitation of sick units and the committee constituted by Reserve Bank of India to study and help out sick units. In the later stage of the session, we will learn about the BIFR and the state government plans to help out the sick units. Before we shall start the topic of industrial sickness and the concept of industrial sickness, we shall learn the importance of this topic. Why this topic is important to learn? Following thing shows the significance of this study. First is, it is a real problem on Indian economy landscape. Second, it is associated with the heavy economic losses. And third, its solution can save lots of valuable resources and spirit of entrepreneurship. That means that this is the one of the problem which directly affect our economy and the business model. And once the sickness problem is solved, then we can find out the ways to save the money and the resources which has been put to develop all those industries which has fallen in the category of sick industries. And the most important factor for the success of any economy is the enthusiasm of businessmen and entrepreneurs. And the sick units always demotivates the entrepreneurs to get into the new ventures and start new businesses. Solution will of course motivate the businessmen to start new venture. As we know that our today's era, the economy of India is growing very sound and is moving in the leaps and bounds. India is growing on the second fastest growth rate across the globe. But in the same scenario, a certain ways where the people and especially the bankers are concerned. If you look at the well-known economist, the Deputy Governor General of Reserve Bank of India in the Annual Banker Association, then we see the concern in his voice regarding industrial sickness. He has said, there has been a burst of entrepreneurship across the country. A small entrepreneur today might well become a multinational enterprise eventually if given the comfort of financial support. But we also have to understand that there will be failure as well as successes. Bank will therefore have to turn up the risk assessment and risk management capacities. In his statement, Dr. Rakesh Mohan has given the hope for the entrepreneur and same time has given the concern to the bankers regarding the failure of business, and he has asked all the bankers to focus on the risk management capacity and the risk assessment which is related with the business failure. How we define industrial sickness? As you understand, the sickness means fallen ill or getting a disease. In a normal parameter, if we talk that a person has fallen sick, a person has got the fever, a person has got the high BP or the lower BP, then we of course correlated certain parameter which are considered as a normal parameter. Like in the case of higher blood pressure or lower blood pressure, the blood pressure of the individual person who is declared as a sick person will be having the parameter which are above or the below than the normal blood pressure. On the case of temperature, once the body touches certain temperature which is above the normal temperature, degree centigrade or the Fahrenheit, the person is considered as a suffering from fever. The same way, when any industry touches a parameter, especially on the financial side, which are not considered as a good or the financial healthy parameter, then the industry will be considered as a sick unit. As you know, the industry according to the investment size fall in the different categories of micro industries, small, medium enterprise or the large industries. All the industries can fall in the sick category. RBI has defined the different industries in the different manner for the sickness. Typically, they have considered the two types for to define industrial sickness. One is small scale industries, where they have considered micro, small and medium enterprises, and another is large units. Let us see how they define the sickness in small scale industries. A micro or small enterprise as defined in MSMED Act 2006 may be said to have become sick if any of the borrower account of the enterprise remains NPA for 3 months or more. That means, if this enterprise failed to provide principal amount or the interest amount of the borrowed money for the consecutive 3 months or more than that, then that enterprise should be considered as sick. Or the another part of the same definition is, there is erosion in the net worth due to accumulated losses to the extent of 50% of its net worth during the previous accounting year, and unit has been in commercial production for at least 2 years. That means, if any unit which is in commercial production for the minimum 2 years or more than that, but in the last financial years, if they have seen the loss of 50% net worth, then the industry will be considered as a sick unit. The large unit, the definition given in RBI notification 2008 is as follows. In non SSI, in non small scale industry, sick unit is a non SSI industrial undertaking regardless of type of incorporation, whose accumulated losses as at the end of the latest financial year equal or exceed its entire net worth, is paid up capital or the free reserves. That means, if the losses are more than the entire net worth capital in the financial year, then the industry should be considered in the sick category. Another definition for the weak unit is as follows. In non SSI, weak unit is a non SSI industrial undertaking regardless of type of incorporation. The two parts of this definition, first is any of its borrowable accounts principal or interest has remained overdue for a period of exceeding 1 year. Shall keep in mind that here the principal amount or the interest amount installment is due for a period of more than 1 year, whereas in the case of small industries the tenure was 3 months. The B is there is erosion in the net worth due to accumulated losses to the extent of 50% of its net worth during the previous financial year. So, if the net worth of any industry has been lost up to the level of 50%, then industry will be considered as a weak unit. This is as per the notification given by RBI. As you have defined the industrial sickness for the small scale industries and for the large units. If you look at the number of units and the amount which is stuck due to the sickness, then we find the figures which are huge. The magnitude of industrial sickness is as follows. In the recent years from 2000 to 2007, on the selected 4 years, we got almost 3,04,235 sick units in year 2000, where 4,643 crores were stuck in as a outstanding amount. In 2003, we got 1,67,980 units in a SIC category and 5,706 crore rupees was outstanding amount with these units. In 2005, we got 1,38,041 units in a SIC category and 5,380 crores were stuck as outstanding amount. In the year 2007, we see 1,14,132 number of SIC units and the amount outstanding was 5,266 crore rupees. Here you shall keep in mind that the number of units are in lakhs and the amount is in crores. Out of the small scale industries and the large unit, the small scale industries constitute of 80 to 90% of number of units and the large unit constitute 70 to 80% or in some cases more than 80% of amount outstanding. So, even though the number of large units are much lesser than the small units, but the outstanding amount or the bankers NPA were much higher in the large unit cases and which is much lower in the case of small units. Viability of SIC small scale industry unit. As any businessman set up the business with the intention of making the profit and same time delivering some social objectives like employment and the supply of the goods in the market. Running of a business is not only necessary for the individual businessman, but also for the society. So, in some cases where the industries fell down due to certain reasons which can be avoided and the industry can run again successfully, then government feels that we should help him out and find out whether this industry can again work or not. All those industries which has fallen in the category of SIC units as per the definition given by the Reserve Bank of India, but has the potential to come up again and deliver the goods for the society, they are considered as a viable SIC unit. They are defined as follows: if a unit would be in a position to continue to its repayment obligation as agreed upon, including those of relief package, means if a unit can repay its outstanding payment and the extra debt which they have got under the relief package of the rehabilitation, then that unit should be considered as a viable SIC unit, means they should be given the package of rehabilitation, come up again and they deliver the job. But the payment should be within the tenure of 5 years and it should not exceed that. Let us see what caused the sickness in industry. As you understand the theory given by the Michael Porter, where he has described the 5 forces of management, where the external forces and the internal forces affect survival of any company or the product. In India, we define all those factors for the industrial sickness in the 2 parts: external factor and internal factor. By the name itself we know external factors are the factor which cannot be controlled by the businessman, and the internal factor are the factor which are well in control by the businessman. External factors are as follows: government policies, monetary, fiscal and tax. Second is infrastructure, power and transport, etc. Supply of raw material, adverse industrial environment and natural calamity. As if the government makes some changes in the fiscal policy or the monetary policy, then the exchange rate of the currency might change the rate of interest might change, and that will affect on the supply of the money in the market or on the import or the export price of the product, which will result into the which might result for the businessman in a negative manner and cause a problem which can create the failure of the entire business. If some area got the regular problem regarding the power supply of load shedding or regular problem related to the railway or the road transportation, then he will fail to be supply the goods to the market where he is supposed to provide. This will eventually cause the failure of the complete business. The same way, if the raw material supply got stuck due to any of the reason, it could be the international conflicts or the domestic problems or the infrastructure related issues or the cost related issues or the higher price of the raw material, which eventually result into the higher price of the product, can fail industry. Adverse industrial environment could be high competition or the price cutting or the smuggling kind of things for the from the outside the country or the dumping, and which can create the problem for the survival of that very industry in its own country. Natural calamity where the plant is set up or where the consumer base is, or any other calamity which can cause the problem of economic level, like an industry which is working for the agriculture market, and if there is a consecutive years where there is a drought, then of course there won't be any demand for their agriculture product like pesticides or the seeds, and it can cause a failure or a permanent sickness for that industry. Internal factors which can cause sickness are as follows: mismanagement, diversification of funds, excessive overhead cost, wrong demand estimation, and faulty management accounting. All these processes are the part of the management. A healthy and good management will of course result into healthy business. If either of these factors are not taken into the consideration, then the business will not be operated as smoothly as it is supposed to be. Especially if a businessman puts his money on unproductive assets, and rather than putting the money back into the business, then the flow back will not be as much of requirement of the business and business will fall down. How a bank can come to know that the industry is going to fall sick? There are the various signals by which bank or the creditor can estimate in advance regarding the health of the industry. All those factors which can give information well in advance before falling in sickness are as follows: stock inspection, bank ledger, discussion with borrower, market report, and financial statements. All these are indicators of health of an industry. We shall discuss all of them one by one. First, we will look at the stock inspection. A banker who has given a CC, the cash credit limit, to the industry shall keep a track of the stock, and the stock will give him the health of the industry. These are the following parameters which suggest the banker about the health of industry. These are inadequate stock, irrelevant stock, excessive stock, dual finance, and failure to submit stock statement. If there is irregularity in the stock, then of course there is a problem with the routine business of that same industry. Like in the case of inadequate stock, that means the person has made a wrong claim in a stock statement, and there might be lesser demand in the market, and that is why he is storing lesser quantity of raw material, or the irrelevant stock lying in the godown says the businessman or the industry another commodity, and which can lead to the particular industry is falling down. Excess stock states simply either there is a low demand in the market of the same product, or the stock has been returned back to the businessman, or there might be some quality issue with the product. All those parameters again are for the negative side of the health of industry. If there is a double financing or the CC, the two different bank on the same stock, then it shows the very intention of the businessman regarding dishonesty. And if a businessman does not provide the stock statement as and when asked, and as and when asked for to doing it, then it shows that there is some complication or some irregularities with the stock status. The bank ledger is another tool for a bankers to find out the health of industry. The poor turnover, uncommon check payment, heavy outflow, high cash withdrawal and irregular pattern in bank account are the some parameter which suggest a banker to check out the health of industry. If there is a low turnover in the ledger, then it shows a very low activity of the business. If there are the heavy check payment, the parties which are not related to the business, if they are not supplier, and if they are check in the round figure, then of course it shows the regular check payment to the irrelevant parties or check in the round figure shows that there is something else going on than the normal trading activity or normal business activities. If the outflow is higher than the inflow, then the financial health is going to deteriorate, and of course it is a symptom of the sickness. If the businessman is doing high cash withdrawal and the comparative inflow is again lesser, then again this is a wrong symptom for the business. And every bank, every industry has the seasonal effect. In the season time, they have the high stock, they have the high business activity, and in time of when there is season is not there, the activities are much lesser in the bank account. But in the ledger, if the banker notice that at the time of off season there is a high activity, or at the time of season if there is not enough activities in the bank ledger, then it is again a symptom of falling down in the sick category. Banker as a practice regularly meet with the borrower, and discussion with the borrower is another important tool to understand the health of the industry and where they can get the signal regarding sickness. At the time of discussion, they shall keep in mind the following parameters: major breakdown of any machine or tool, labor strike, change in management, issues in board related to change, death or the dispute, frequent request for the limit enhancement. If any such things are happening in any of the industry, which could be in the board or among the partner, then it can lead, not necessarily it will lead, but it may lead to the sickness of the industry, and bankers should keep in mind all these relevant activities. The market report, which is another signal of the probable sickness for the respective industry. The factors are recession in industry, unfavorable position of inputs, sharp fall in price, unsatisfactory report, routing transaction to other bank, and unfavorable change in policy. If industry as a whole is facing a problem due to the recession or due to the sharp fall in prices or the input problem, or the industry specific which is being loaned by the bank are facing some problem related the change in the policy, or if they are doing the business with any other activity, any other bank, then bankers should keep in caution related to the financial health of the respective industry. Another important tool for the understanding the signal of the sickness as financial statement. As a financial statement shows the complete health of an industry. tools in that are unsatisfactory trend in profit, shortage of working capital, building up of unproductive assets, unhealthy accounting practices, and unsatisfactory equity position. If the certain ratios are not in favorable terms and if they are falling down on the wrong side, then it has been understood and studied that the future of that industry is bad. They normally fail to come out of the trap or the financial failure, especially the trend in the profit and the working capital, or the businessman putting his money outside the core business activity on a very heavy amount leads to business industry on a failure. To understand this failure of sickness, RBI has constituted some committees. We shall learn what the two important committees constituted by RBI. One was the HASIB committee, which was constituted in 1986, and its objective was to prepare a guideline for the rehabilitation of sick small scale industries. Another working group or the committee constituted by Reserve Bank of India was the Kohli working group, which was presided by the chairman SS Kohli, and these recommendations are very important. The important recommendations given by Mr. Kohli are as follows. First is norms to be decided according to the time taken for repayment. Second is package implementation in 6 months, and the third is indicative guidelines for the industry and time period. Mr. Kohli has given the recommendations that industry should be given, if they selected for the rehabilitation, then the package should be given within the 6 months, and they even given the indicative norms for the rate of interest and the time period. They said that norms should be decided according to the time decided by the industry and the banker for the repayment, and their suggestive loan rates were there, even though it was not forced for the bank, but it was like proposed or suggested to the bankers. As you have seen the cause and the committee reports regarding the sickness, let us see what are the requirements for the rehabilitation of a sick unit. A sick unit, if can do following things, then they should get the package for the rehabilitation. First is generate adequate activity and employment efficiently, commit additional funds if necessary, and elicit cooperation from worker and supplier. If these 4 things can be done by an industry, then they should get the rehabilitation package. And process to get this rehabilitation package are as follows. Assessment of feasibility of the project by the industry and the banker, assessment of additional fund required for the business activities in future, the cash flow estimate preparation for the next 5 to 7 years, so that the banker's loan can be repaid and the industry can become into the positive side of the finance. Operational arrangement for the next 5 to 7 years, which includes all the financial activities, supply chain management, the marketing activities, and the labor management, and arrangement for the management performance, where the management decides all kind of activities which they are going to do for the positive side of the business, and the monitoring of all those changes. BIFR, this is one of the most important parameter or important topic to understand industrial sickness. This is a board for industrial and financial reconstruction 1987. As we will just learn about the rehabilitation, and this rehabilitation happens with the BIFR. BIFR was constituted by the government of India in 1987 to help out the sick units in the private companies. The public sector units were covered in 1996 under the Act which was made in 1985 as Sick Industrial Companies Act. By this Act, the public sector companies were also covered by the BIFR. The job of this board is to get the reference for the sick unit, study the sickness factors, find out if there is any possibility to come into the positive side and give them the package. The performance of BIFR is as follows. In 2006, they received 5413 references, and out of them they given the rehabilitation package 748 units, and 485 units came out of sick units. 1303 units were recommended them for winding up. Let us summarize whatever we studied in our session today. We studied about the definition of sick unit, magnitude of sickness, viability of sick units, the cause of sickness and the signal of sickness. Then we focused on the RBI committees which were constituted to study the sickness and the rehabilitation package. The last study we did was about the BIFR, which is Board for Industrial Finance and Reconstruction. Thank you.